Velina me ke aloha, ano ai. Yeah, as funny, I came up here originally and said, oh man, I don't even know what I'm going to talk about. Next thing I know, I probably got an hour lecture right here if I wanted to talk about everything. But anyway, I just gotta say, I was really very impressed, in fact, with the thoughts and ideas that I heard these past 2 days in a very short conference. Actually, this is my third ethnic studies conference I've attended in the last maybe 10 years. By far the best and deepest in regards to the multiplicity of ideas that have been shared. So I'm very appreciative. I've met some very intelligent people here, so I'm so enamored by the scholarship and the work that's going on right now. And I'm very grateful that I had the opportunity to come and share. But let's just start off with Brother Vincent's. I mean, you know, again, I talk about the star compass and the traditional view of space and time. You know, we as Pacific peoples, as we reorient ourselves in this world, that's what's happening. Yeah, these north, south, east, west kind of ideas of time and space have been imposed on us. A traditional view of where we are has been replaced. And so as we start to attempt to struggle to, you know, remake, restore, or refocus our compass for our future, our lives as Pacific peoples, I'm also reminded that, you know, we don't come from a people, you know, Pacific peoples, let me kind of share, you know, as I understand it. You know, Pacific peoples are very interesting peoples, even in world history. You know, they say the most ancient people that ever left Africa, if you go back to the first migrations out, you know what, 80,000 years ago, 60,000 years ago, depending on who's the anthropologist perhaps. Some of the first people that left Africa ended up in what we call the Pacific today. And then, what's also said, the last great migrations out of Africa, maybe about 10,000, 12,000 years ago, also left Africa, made the way a little more north, and came in off of Asia, some say even Taiwan, and entered the Pacific. And they merged. And we, Pacific people, when you really understand, we come from some of the most ancient peoples on one hand, and also the most newest peoples in regards to travelers. So what does it say about us? And for me, what it says is, it's within our DNA, in a sense, our experience, that we're the dreamers. We're those who, at all times, are looking at the next horizon. You know, we're the innovators. We adapt. And so, putting this into context, if we look at the Pacific today, and I'm just reminded a few years back, we had the big APEC conference over here. See, the big so-called colonial masters, the empire builders, they have plans for the Pacific. They have plans for the Pacific. The question is, are we part of the planning? And my response would be, I don't think so. So as we start to navigate politically, we got to understand, empire building is a project that's going on. We can say and talk and believe what we want to do, but unless we address this question of the empire, unless we directly address this question of empire through militarism, consumerism, materialism, commodification, I mean, what have you, we will remain on the fringes. We will remain as the objects of this empire building. So, events like this are key. If we're going to survive, think about this. If we as Pacific peoples are going to survive, man, we got to get together. And this reminds me to a story with Papa Maupi Ailu. You know, I mean, I got to meet, you know, some important people in my life. But Papa Mau probably was the most important. He came to Kaha'olawe, I think back in 2008, 4, 3, 4. And I got to meet him when he landed with the helicopter. He was pretty weak then. Got to carry him off the helicopter, brought him in. I got to spend 2 days with him. And there's a couple of things that he shared with me. Walking out to Kaleikoa Ka, the pathway to Tahiti. We have, the great navigators are coming. And walking out with him, and I'm holding his hand, he goes, I've been here before. And I knew what he meant. We are ancient peoples. And we transcend time. He is his ancestors who have been through the Pacific. We are our ancestors who have been through the Pacific. And then he also said, next time I come back, all the canoes are going to come. And I was like, just blown away. At first I'm thinking, is he talking about himself physically? And then I realized that's not what he's saying. This knowledge, this ancestral knowledge, as he told us, he teaches us. If I have courage, that's the point. Do we have the courage? It's because I believe, I have faith in the teachings of our ancestors. Yes, you can use the compass, and yes, you can GPS. But see, there's this experiential passing, understanding, this magic, this sacredness that comes with this knowledge. And for me, it was such an important understanding. It's the faith. Kaleikoa, I can study everything, I can read everything, I can know all the books. But if I don't have the faith, of a better tomorrow, what the heck are we doing as so-called educators? If I don't have a faith that I'm going to build a better tomorrow, then we're just paddling around and playing around in this little ocean called the Pacific. And the third thing he said, no more Micronesia, no more Polynesia, no more Melanesia. We want people. And I remember thinking how profound, as I was talking a little bit yesterday, that conscious. See, once he planted that seed in my brain, it made me think very different politically. What he's saying, if we're going to have this destination in the future, the Pacific peoples, we already have to construct this future. We as Pacific peoples, all of us working together, educating one another to see our future together. And these colonial lines which have been drawn and histories that have been imposed on us, And we lost that compass, you see, which said that we the continent of the ocean, Oceania, Te Moana Nui. And with that destination, see, once you have the destination in hand, it's just a matter of navigating through those storms and navigating through the reefs and all those difficult times. But it's going to take events like this. That's what I saw so important. It's events like this. Because we learn from our other Native brothers. I learned from my African brothers and sisters. I learned from different peoples in their struggles. Help us in the skills to navigate these waters. Because for me, that's the end. If we're just sailing around and we don't have a destination, we're just sailing around. But I want us to commit. I want us to commit and say, we have a destiny. It might not happen in our lifetime. But Papa Mao has already planted that seed in my brain. That if we're going to survive into this future, because the empire is building the fact that we won't. The empire is hoping that we disappear, that we become acculturated, assimilated. But as Papa Mao has led us to understand, if we have that faith, we can move forward. We can navigate into this future, on this canoe, on this wa'a, into this new time and space, built upon this compass of our past. But I also understand that kupuna was not ones who just be dogmatic in thinking and just hold on to something and don't adapt. We come from people who are very innovative and adaptive. So we will do what is necessary to move this canoe forward. And And I just want to end with one of the words of one of my teachers, Uncle Eddie Ka'anana, who's also passed. And I got to spend the day on the beach at Kaho'olawe with Papa Mau and Uncle Eddie, and I know Davey, I remember, two men in their malos holding hands. But Uncle Eddie also had a big, as a kupuna who taught me many things. And one of the words he would always say to us as the younger was, li'u ka pa'akai, which means that everything is salted. In traditional Hawaiian, when you catch the fish, you salt the fish, and you put them away for a later time. And what he meant was, Kaleikoa, everything we need to move forward as a people is already here. It's here. But like the fish, you got to take that fish, that salted fish, and you got to wash it off a little bit, take off that salt, make it palatable, and you start to eat it. That everything we need to know. So you want to talk about food sovereignty? Well, we know we have fish ponds, and you guys are going to visit some of the places tomorrow. How do we produce food? We have the infrastructure that's already here. People talk about aquaculture, agriculture, organic farming. See, I know that is a part of our history as peoples of the Pacific. We want to talk about ending homelessness. I know that's a part of our people, that we never had homelessness. We never had starvation. So when you talk about the march of humanity, it's not that we don't know where to go, because we've been there before, you see. It's a very different journey. You know what? We're not really heading to someplace new. We're really heading back to where we come from. And that's the point. And that's the destination. And so, like in the words of Uncle Eddie, I think as we Pacific peoples, we already know what we need to do. We already know the destination. And all it is a matter of us understanding this united destination is how now do we navigate together. And so I would hope that this ethnic studies program, and I know it's a lot of work, but I know that it has a very important role, because in Hawaii, as was said, there's no place in the world that's as militarized as Hawaii. You talk about weapons of mass destruction, you don't need to go too far. Go a few miles right down the road. You want to talk about the center of Pacific Command? It's here. You want to talk about rockets and, nuclear weaponry? Go down to Nohili. You want to talk about the most powerful telescope for the military? It's on Kaleikoa Ka. But yet, even if with all the might that they may have of this empire, I would suggest, as I tried to share a little bit about yesterday, as Hawaiians, we are fortunate that we do not have a violent option in regards to getting the U.S. out of Hawaii. That is impossible, but that's a blessing. Because Aloha Aina, the love for this land, and Aloha Aina is an ideology of resistance to the harmful effects of this land. And this ideology, as I say, it's not an ideology that only Hawaiians can follow, because I believe that all peoples love the land. But this ideology of resistance to this empire is based on the same principles as the great Mahatma Gandhi had said. He called it Satyagraha, the truth force, the soul force. Is to challenge those which may have the most powerful weaponry with the power of truth and love. So yes, they may have powerful weaponry, but I believe the power of Aloha, not just by Hawaiians, but I was even the non-Hawaiians who are here. I know my bones are going to go into this ground, and I'm sure many, even non-Kanaka, your bones are going into this ground, and your grandchildren will end up in my grandchildren. So 100 years from now, we're really talking about the same Ohana and family anyway. So we all have the same destination. We all have the same in regards to the effects So the question is, do we have the courage that Papa Mau has been asking us? Do we have the courage to see the destination? Do we all have the courage to make it happen? Imua.
And that concludes our final panel. Please join me in giving our panel one last final round of applause. I want to thank everyone for coming. I also want to note that as perhaps an authenticator that we are an actual ethnic studies department, we are getting kicked out. We evidently didn't do good on our booking, and there's campus center people waiting to occupy this room in 10 minutes. So, with that said, we actually have booked Hemingway Courtyard, aka Manoa Gardens, for tonight for a quote-unquote artist workshop, which is basically a party. So, please move now and eventually get to Manoa Gardens. The music will start. We have a band coming, Big Mox and the Bentals, and that'll start at 7, although you can go there right now. Well, you don't need to go home, but you can't stay here. So, all right, we'll see you all. Mahalo for coming. Aloha.